Guardians of the Skies, two machines so different, so unique, that they ended up fighting for the same conquest: absolute control of the Pacific. On one side, the elegant and deadly P-51 Mustang, with its sleek lines and impressive speed, born for precision and altitude. On the other, the brute and imposing F4U Corsair, with its gull wings and overwhelming power, forged for close combat and resilience. Which one truly dominated the greatest aerial battlefield in history? Which was most feared by enemy pilots? Which one ensured that the Allied forces were not wiped off the map, paving the way for victory? Prepare for an epic battle, not in the pages of dusty books, but in the hearts of those who risk their lives to secure every inch of the sky, defining the fate of a war. The Pacific was not just a vast expanse of water, a distant dot on the world map. It was a cauldron of death and heroism, a brutal arena where men and machines were pushed to the limits of exhaustion and technical capability. Air operations there were not minutes of pure adrenaline, but long, grueling missions that stretched for hours, under a blazing sun that blinded the view and tropical storms that seemed to swallow everything. These extreme conditions tested not only the intrinsic efficiency of the aircraft, but the determination, endurance, and bravery of the pilots who controlled them. It was a battle that went beyond simple speed against speed or maneuverability against maneuverability. It was a clash of entire strategic concepts, of opposing engineering philosophies, of one air doctrine against another. The Japanese, with their light and agile fighters, focused on dogfighting, on close aerial combat. The Allies, with their technology and firepower, sought dominance through numerical superiority and the ability to operate over long distances. The Pacific did not forgive mistakes. The distance from bases, the scarcity of resources, the corrosive humidity, and the ferocity of the enemy made every flight a life-or-death challenge. It brooked no hesitation. Any mechanical failure or tactical error could be the last. It did not wait for second pilots or a second chance. With every takeoff, every dive, and every burst of machine gun fire, the pilots knew they were in a scenario where the only certainty was uncertainty, and the only route to victory was the ability to overcome the impossible. Imagine a silver arrow streaking across the blue sky, almost like a masterpiece of engineering. That was the essence of the P-51 Mustang. Conceived and refined in the stormy skies of Europe, where the German Luftwaffe dictated a dizzying pace of combat, the Mustang was built for speed and altitude. Its impeccable aerodynamics, almost like a metallic sculpture, were not just aesthetic. They were the manifestation of a machine designed to dominate. At the heart of this high-altitude predator was the legendary Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, a marvel of British engineering that, manufactured under license in the United States by Packard, propelled the Mustang to speeds few could match. But it was not only its speed that made it fearsome. Its flight range was legendary, allowing it to escort bombers on long-range missions, penetrating deep into enemy territory. In the skies of the Pacific, this capability was crucial. With the Mustang's range, American bombers were no longer alone in their raids against Japanese bases. The Workhorse could follow them, protect their backs, and confront Japanese fighters on their own territory. Its main strategic advantage lay in its absolute control of altitude. The Mustang climbed higher and faster than many of its Japanese adversaries, including the famous A6M0. This vertical superiority gave it the initiative and positional advantage in almost every engagement. Able to attack from above with the energy of gravity on its side, the P-51 was a natural hunter, perfect for strategic combat and escort missions, where persistence was as vital as firepower. It was the silent guardian, the vigilant sentinel, who ensured the safe passage of its precious cargo. However, this excellence at altitude came at a cost. The Mustang, at its core, was not designed for close-to-ground combat, where agility and resilience were paramount. Its liquid cooling, although efficient at high performance, made it vulnerable to Japanese anti-aircraft fire at low altitude. A single hit to the cooling system could doom the aircraft. In addition, the logistical demands of the Pacific, with its makeshift airstrips, often made of coral or mud, posed a challenge. The Mustang's landing gear, while sturdy enough for European paved runways, could not always withstand the brutality of operations on remote islands. It was a champion of the heights, a bomber guardian, and a fast interceptor. But losing sight of the altitude advantage meant entering territory where the rules of the game changed dramatically.
If the Mustang was the precise and elegant blade, the F4U Corsair was the hammer, a blunt force weapon forged for resilience and destruction. Its visual signature was unmistakable, almost a chimera of the skies, the inverted gull wing. This seemingly strange engineering solution was a necessity to accommodate the gigantic Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp engine and its enormous propeller, while ensuring the necessary ground clearance for the landing gear. When this monster of an engine was fired at full power, it didn't just propel the Corsair, it launched a wall of lead against any adversary that dared to cross its path. Japanese pilots feared it not only for its robustness or the lethality of its 6.50 caliber machine guns, they feared it for its distinctive sound signature, the characteristic whistle of its engine and wingtips as the plane reached high speed. It was a terrifying, almost unearthly sound that preceded the impact of its bullets, transforming the Corsair into a harbinger of death in the skies of the Pacific. It was the whistle of death. The Corsair's primary advantage lay in its brutality and efficiency in low-altitude combat and ground attack missions. Its rugged design and ability to withstand significant damage made it an unstoppable fighting machine, capable of absorbing hits that would have brought down other aircraft and still returning to base. In carrier-based operations, the Corsair, although initially considered difficult by Navy and Marine Corps pilots in part because of its high approach speed for landing and low-speed stall characteristics, quickly became the backbone of naval aviation. It was a true workhorse, dominating the landscape of islands and atolls, a tireless warrior that could operate from almost anywhere. Its weakness, however, was its difficulty in operating consistently at the higher altitudes where the Mustang reigned supreme. The Corsair was not as sleek or aerodynamic as the Mustang, and its performance suffered at extreme altitudes. In addition, the learning curve for less experienced pilots was steeper, requiring exceptional mastery of the aircraft for carrier landings and low-speed maneuvers. But in an environment where brute force and the ability to withstand punishment were as vital as speed or maneuverability, the Corsair was unbeatable. It was the true terror of the Pacific, sounding the death whistle for its enemies.
In the skies above Okinawa and Iwo Jima, in a moonscape of craters and smoke, the encounters between the Allies and Japanese forces were not isolated aerial battles. They were duels that determined the fate of entire campaigns. Mustangs and Corsairs did not just fight, they became extensions of Allied fury and determination. Side by side, they faced desperate Japanese forces, determined to make every encounter a death sentence for anyone who dared to storm their last strongholds. The accounts of these encounters are not of mere technical duels, but of a relentless sequence of attacks and counterattacks under a storm of anti-aircraft fire and smoke from burning planes. Maneuvers were calculated in seconds, decisions made under unimaginable pressure. Pilots like Chuck Yeager, who flew Mustangs in the Pacific before becoming legendary for breaking the sound barrier, and Gregory "Pappy" Boyington,
the irascible Marine Corps ace in his Corsair, were not just looking to shoot down an enemy or win medals and passing honors. They were looking, above all, to survive to keep fighting the next day, to see the end of this hell. The battles had no clear winners in the sense of one plane being categorically superior to the other under all conditions. What they left was a deep mark on memory and history. Each encounter was a test of human strength, engineering, and combat doctrine. Because in that war, in the words of many veterans, there were no absolute victors or losers on the air battlefield. Only exhausted men fighting with everything they had to return to their families, to their homeland, and to a future that was not yet assured. True victory was survival and the conquest, step by step, of every inch of sky. The story of the Mustang and the Corsair in the Pacific is not just about metal and machines, but about human ingenuity, resilience in the face of adversity, and the relentless pursuit of victory. They were more than airplanes. They were symbols of an era, echoes of a war that shaped the world.
The indelible marks of the P-51 Mustang and F4U Corsair are not only visible in the pale pages of historical records or in the grainy, yellowed photos in military archives. They are indelibly imprinted on the very DNA of modern aviation. These aircraft were not mere lumps of steel, aluminum, and rivets. They were pillars of an era of unbridled innovation and unwavering bravery that defined the 20th century and redefined aerial warfare. The Mustang and Corsair not only won a crucial battle in the Pacific, contributing decisively to Allied air superiority, but also laid the foundation for all future generations of jet fighters. The quest for greater speed, greater range, overwhelming firepower, and combat resilience, so evident in these two icons, shaped the development of military aircraft that would come after them. The men who flew them are not just forgotten names on long lists of pilots. They are living examples of unbreakable determination, human ingenuity in the face of adversity, and quiet honor in the line of duty. Because they did not fight for medals or fleeting glory that would be forgotten in time, they fought to secure the freedom of millions, to defend their ideals, and to make possible a new era in the skies where the lessons learned in the Pacific would continue to resonate. Their legacy is living proof that human courage and innovation can overcome the most insurmountable challenges. If today we look back and are impressed by the P-51 Mustang and the F4U Corsair, it is not only because of the dizzying speed they could reach or the deafening power of their machine guns in combat. It is because of the living memory of each pilot who dared to take to the skies in such imperfect machines, and even so, transform them into instruments of victory, making each aerial battle a battle for freedom itself. Because in the Pacific, planes did not fight against planes. Men fought against death, and won, writing an indelible chapter in the history of humanity. If you want to learn more about legendary duels and the machines that decided history, delving into stories that are rarely told, then subscribe to the channel and activate notifications, because the forgotten pages of the past are more alive than ever, here on your Aviation History channel.